So let's just begin by stretching the body a little bit, just paying attention and listening to what the body might be telling you is needed right now so that you can make whatever adjustments will allow you to kind of settle in. So you want to like adjust any of the grievances your body has right now rather than settling in and then finding that, oh, really, the way your shirt is hitting you is bugging you. So, and again, we can work with that as the anchor for our meditation, but since our approach here is to hold ourselves in compassion, we'll be a little more gentle with the body. But another reason for starting with a stretch is, of course, that we want to remind ourselves that we have a body, because we spend a lot of time ignoring that fact. And we really want to, when you move, when you shimmy, when you shake, you can really feel, oh yeah, there's some blood running there. There's some energy. I have limbs, I have nerve endings, and all of that is crucial to being in this present moment. To being able to receive what the moment has to offer us, we need our bodies attentive, present, and able to take in all the data that they're getting from the moment. So once you've kind of done your butt shimmy and shaken things out and gotten comfortable, just ending by rolling your shoulders back to open up the heart. And just feel your breath. Now that your chest is opened, just noticing how much more room there is for air to enter the lungs. So just starting with a few just really deep, clean breaths, exaggerated breaths. So feeling your lungs expand. And then bringing the next breath deeper so that you can feel the shifting of the diaphragm moving up and down with the breath. Like in the solar plexus region, feeling yourself fill up with air. And then the next breath, drawing it down even deeper into the pelvic bowl, into that root chakra, the dantian. And then with the next breath, letting it settle into the core, the root part of you, the part of you that's connected with your chair, your cushion, your couch, your floor. Just noticing how the breath changes the sensation of the weight of your body and how your body's being held by the solid furniture. And now just letting yourself fall back to your natural rhythm of breath. So what you might pay attention to here is the fact that moving from something that we've controlled and exaggerated, which we've done with the breath the last few go rounds, and now we're not controlling the breath. So how easy is it from us to move from this place of controlling something to not controlling it? Can you step back and relinquish the control of inhalation and exhalation to the same natural rhythm that you've had since you were born when you're not paying attention? Because you breathe a lot without paying attention to the breath. So can you let that go, but still pay attention? So we're not shifting into automatic breath and I'm focused on something else. We're paying attention, but we're not controlling it. And that's the hard thing, I think, because I think when we turn our attention to something, our immediate impulse is to try to interfere, control, manipulate, change. So what we're developing here is the capacity to witness and watch the experience, but stay out of the way. And that's a hell of a tough thing to do. So just noticing when you might start messing with your breath, just by virtue of saying, let's watch it, we might get involved with it. So see if you can find that sweet spot where you're present to the breath, but not trying to do anything with it. So for our meditation today, we might concern ourselves with this very act of presence without interference. So can we spend the next 20 or so minutes together just letting everything be just as it is right now? So again, often when we're letting things unfold, we tend not to pay attention, that it's the attention being brought to the focus that causes us to get involved in it. So we're learning how to find this space where we can be present and attentive to it happening without getting involved. So right now, can you be with the experience of your body and of your breath and not do anything? Because what if this moment was just fine without our interference? What if this moment could unfold just as it needs to without us pulling some puppeteer strings or needing to evaluate its worth or narrating what's happening? What if it could just be, and maybe we're not that consequential? We're part of the moment, not orchestrating the moment. So I know when I start thinking about this, I start getting really resistant and distracted because I like to think I'm in control of things, right? So if you notice that your mind doesn't want to think about this, there might be something to pay attention to here, that we are so in the habit of being in control that just stepping back and witnessing without abdicating any presence, any attention, is really hard. So can we just be with this moment and not do? Let your body breathe, it knows how. You really don't have to focus too much on my words because your body will take in the sound and make sense of it without you being hyper focused on it. Can we just allow whatever is here to be here, just as it is? Can we allow ourselves to be here, just as we are? What if in this moment there was nothing that needed to be fixed? There's nothing to do or to get or no one to be. Everything right now is just as it needs to be. And we didn't do anything for this moment to happen. It just is. And if you find yourself getting lost or or noticing that you're involved in some story or that you're evaluating what's happening, or we're getting into that discursive thought, that's okay because that's just the brain. The brain really wants to be in control. So it's going to take a little coaxing and a whole lot of practice to get it to let go. But when you notice that you're busy in your thinking mind, trying to control the moment, trying to shape the experience you're having, you just very gently and lovingly recommit to being in your body, to being with this breath. And if you need to go back, you can go back to having a breath that is controlled by you, that is contrived or manipulated, and then step away to get the contrast of what it's like to really control it and then let it go. If that's helpful for you, then try that. But always coming back to the body, because the body is always here. The body is always allowing the unfolding to happen if we can quiet the mind enough. You might, if you can stay with your experience, you might notice that occasionally this impulse will occur. This impulse to act in some way, to do something, to think about what is happening, to evaluate how well you're doing it. And so see if you can catch that impulse before it becomes action, so that you can notice the urge to act without acting. Because what if this moment were absolutely complete, just as it is, right now? Perfect. Right now, you in this moment, you're perfect. Coming back to the breath, coming back to the weight of the body. Redirecting yourself out of the thinking mind. Resting awareness in the anchor and just allowing. We often think this moment can be made better by our interference, and often that's not the case. This moment requires nothing more than our attention, than our loving presence. If you notice yourself getting pulled into the future, like planning what you're doing when you get up off the cushion or all the things you have on your to-do list this afternoon, if you notice that, you might become curious about this idea that the future is better, that there's something better waiting for you at 4 p.m. or on Thursday. That idea that there's something better in the future robs you of this moment. That there is nothing missing right now. That everything in this moment is complete. But we trade that in for an imagined escape into the future that we don't know will happen. So can you come back to this moment where this is where life is in this moment? There is nothing beyond right now. And what if this moment that is just as it's supposed to be, and you just as you are right now, what if this is the moment you've been waiting for? Bring yourself back to your breath. Noticing an impulse or an urge to do something, to act, anything that we do to try to shape experience for ourselves, which is a barrier between how experience really is, and which is what we're investigating, what we're curious about is what is in this moment without me getting in there and manipulating. What is really here? And what if what is really here is just perfect, just as it's meant to be? We don't have to be or do anything else to be who we need to be in this moment. We simply are. So just check in and notice if you've followed an impulse into action, and you might need to reestablish your role as a witness to the moment, that you've fallen into some manipulation or control, or maybe you're not even in this moment, but you're in the past or the future. Just bring yourself back. It's hard to be here without trying to do something, right? So we can be very loving with ourselves when we get pulled into the past or the future. Loving as we bring ourselves back to right now, to this breath. Feeling the lungs expand, feeling the lungs contract. Just observing. It feels to me like if we can accept this moment as being just as it needs to be, if we can surrender that this moment doesn't require us to act or think or do anything, but then we can be so brave about our lives because everything is going to be just fine. Everything is going to unfold exactly as it's meant to. And we're going to be okay. When we learn that we don't always have to be doing. So in a moment, we're going to transition out of our practice. But I'd invite you to consider how this concept of surrender might be alive for you right now in your life. So is there something in your life that you might be ardently trying to make happen, or something where you're feeling urgency and press that might shift a bit if you could let go and step back? Is there any place in your life where you might invite this idea of it's perfect just as it is, it's complete just as it is, and that the machinations that we engage in are often about ego or a need to feel relevant or a defense against a sense of helplessness? But that if we could step back and be present to things being just as they need to, and us within them being just fine. No one's broken. No one's sick. No one's bad. If we can allow for that kind of surrender, then how might we approach the rest of our lives? Or even just this afternoon. We could just start with this afternoon. So just seeing if there's a way you could take this idea into your life in a real immediate kind of way. And now let's expand our awareness from our breath and the heaviness of our body by just kind of picturing in our mind's eye what the shape of our body is as we sit in the room that we're in. So we can just imagine what our body looks like as if we're seeing it from outside of ourselves. And we can expand awareness further by taking in the sounds that we hear. Perhaps feeling the shift in temperature. If you have some air moving across your skin, you might notice that. And before we end, just using our last few breaths here before the chime to offer any benefit that we may have received from our practice here today. To those who perhaps feel unsafe in their lives or are perhaps mired in that sense of helplessness that keeps them on the treadmill of doing, trying to make things happen. The depletion and exhaustion that comes from living in that way. Perhaps we might send them some of our loving kindness and energy. And then just taking a breath or two more here together. Just allowing ourselves to be exactly as we are and knowing that that is enough. We are enough.